Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Amanda. Good morning. This being the first Sunday of the month, this is a Shotsuki service, and I'll be reading the names of those our loved ones who have passed away in the month of February. As I read the names, if you have a home altar or obutsudan, please burn incense in their memory. Starting from those who most recently passed away, we have Michael Doi, George Yamamoto, Hideko Smith, Mariko Tanizaki, Mary Matsumoto, Fumie Yamashita, Rose Watamura, Yoshinobu Wakabayashi, Rano Nishinaga, Toshiharu Glenn Yonekura, Tsuneo Niwa, Doris Miyashiro, Suzuki Shizuko Yamada, Patsy Harue Yanagihara, Betty Torio, Shigeru Joseph Shiraishi, Fred Hashiguchi, Masami Honda, Carol Inoue, Shie Hagio, Satoshi Jack Takagi, Mary Hoshizaki, Fumiko Momita, Iwao Yagura, Otomatsu Yoshihara, Koyoshi Nakamura, Yajiro Nemoto, Mary Sugimoto, James Nicholas Link, George Hoshizaki, Misao Sugiyama, Eda Asame, Sada Sameshima, Miki Moriyama, Shima Fudo, Yuki Masumoto, Masano Hirata, Megumi Torimaru, Fumiko Yoshihara, Fred Yamaguchi, Masanori Koba, Suma Shimada, Tome Yamashita, Tome Morimoto, Natsue Shinohara, Yaeno Amano, Yujiro Nakano, Dan Sadao Takeshita, Sada Tsuneyoshi, Sada Takasugi, Hatsue Kimura, Mine Iwataki, Kotaro Shimizu, Ichigoro Imai, Yukino Kodama, Naninosuke Date, Toyo Furusho, Ekichi Ishizaki, Nichi Hanano, Same Odawara, Rino Yanagihara, Naminosuke Tachiki, Bunshiro Takashima, Kisoyuo Emon Sato. And with that, if there are others of your loved ones who have passed away in this month, please burn incense in your home altar in their memory. And with that, we offer our condolence, reciting the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning. We have an event happening this afternoon, the Super Bowl. We could say the country is divided. There's support for one team supporting the veteran quarterback who may be the best of all time. And on the opposing team, another young, very brilliant quarterback who may also reach that level of skill. But actually, the country is not really divided in half. There are segments of the population. There are people like my wife who couldn't care less about the game. And then there are those like me who are kind of tepid about the teams because the 49ers are not playing this year. But on a more serious note, we have a nation that is divided in political sense. Now, our historian, John Meacham, notes that the country is not really divided. In other words, it's not half the country versus the other half. What he's saying is that there are segments of the population. And like the Super Bowl, there are segments of people of different political tendencies. The vast majority of Americans really follow the rule of law, respect others, and do not take violence as a means of settling disputes. However, there's a large segment of our country that follows rhetoric from leaders who are really concerned with their own power. And there doesn't seem to be any ideology or values that they put forward, except that they are upset that things are not going the way they want. Just because there's a large number of them, and they may be loud and forceful and sometimes violent, we should not legitimize their complaints. They are not half the country. Their conduct is similar to teenagers who have gotten used to a certain lifestyle and wants to maintain it. And they may want others to do the work so that the country turns and becomes what they want. They're not doing it in a very responsible way. The Buddha's teachings have helped cultures and individuals for centuries, over 2,600 years. And it's been in different countries and different cultures. And the reason the teachings have lasted so long is that it is based on truth. Now, how can it help us now in this time of turmoil in our country? Buddhism is based on waking up to true reality, becoming aware and acknowledging all of life. We can view things as good things or bad things. Buddhism is constantly waking up to the reality of both good and bad. Just about everything in our lives has a difference of opinion, and the Buddhist teachings apply to all areas of our life. In a previous session, we talked about shifting our perspective. Many people are stressed right now, and we're feeling the darkness of ignorance that hide the clouds. Now, our first reaction, as I said, is to what? Stop and do nothing. In our tension of opposite opinions, we need to be centered. Otherwise, we'll be off-centered and unbalanced. The Buddha tells us in the larger sutra that the Bodhisattva Dhammakara wishes to become a Buddha and seeks the help of the Buddha Lokeshvara. And the Buddha Lokeshvara tells the Bodhisattva to meditate and to see how he would like his land or his realm. In other words, the finished product of what his efforts might be. And so the Bodhisattva Dhammakara meditates for 5 kalpas. Each kalpa is an infinite length of time. And what this mythology is telling us is that it's very important to sit in meditation to see what we would like as a result. And he does this. And of course, he comes out with the 48 vows. And this is what leads us and guides us. Also in the Contemplation Sutra, Queen Vaidehi has a real problem in her family, and we'll get into this story at some point. And she is helped by the historical Shakyamuni Buddha who comes to her aid. And what he advises her to do is to meditate. He has her meditate on a series of things, and it starts out with meditating on the setting sun. Now, if you have ever meditated with the setting sun, you see that you can see the sun, and when you close your eyes, you can still see the setting sun. Now, here again, the first thing that she is advised to do is to meditate. And the Buddha himself, after his enlightenment, sat for weeks, wondering whether others could understand what he was awakened to. And so he sat, and then he stood up to begin teaching for the next 45 years. And he started the wheel of Dharma to teach the truth. What the Buddha is suggesting is that what we do first is contemplate our situation, so we can see what our part is in this situation. If we can see ourselves as part of the situation, then we can see ourselves as part of the resolution. And by doing so, we can have an outcome that's satisfying to many. In this real busy, kind of dynamic, chaotic world, we can be settled. And we went through this thing a few weeks ago about breathing in, holding and appreciating, exhaling, let go, and relax. Now, this is very natural. We do this all the time. But I'm suggesting this because what is natural for us, and when we put our attention to it, when we are mindful, we begin to appreciate simple things like breathing. We are not on ventilators like some COVID patients are. And so this very basic thing really helps to ground us. And the other thing is when we have all these things happening in our world, we could bring the two opposite things together. And with the pluses and minuses, we bring a wholeness. And we recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, where we take refuge in the Buddha, waking up, take refuge in the truth of the Dharma, and take refuge in the Sangha, or the family of humans, our fellow friends. Now, are we doing this practice? I'll ask in a few minutes again. Before we change the world, we have to change ourselves. Are we accepting of others and their worldview? Or are we descending to the level of the teenage mind, where we just argue against each other with words and no progress is made? If we are upset with the situation, we usually place the cause of it outside of ourselves. We blame others, other people, other conditions are the cause of my problems. That means I don't have any control of my life. And that may be true. But how do we manage this situation? How do we respond? Do we respond as being able? Are we response-able or responsible? Now, I don't consider myself a good public speaker. I hope that what I'm saying is important. But even if I gave an inspiring speech, it may only affect a person for a few hours. What I have been saying is advising and promoting a practice. And if you've been practicing the breathing exercise, ask yourself whether it's been effective. Do you feel calmer? Hopefully, if you say yes, it's been helpful. If you say no, it hasn't helped, I may ask you, you may have to practice more. Because what is it that we've done that hasn't taken a lot of practice? Just learning to play a sport, playing an instrument. Do we become real good at it after a year, a couple of years? It does take practice. And so there is a practice of being settled and centered. Now, we're going to talk about something else. We've talked about gratitude, and there is another practice, and that is of self-acceptance, of being accepted by the Buddha, just as we are. One reason that Buddhism may seem to be difficult is that the first thing, it challenges us to look at ourselves, how we see the world. Modern psychology has helped me to understand what Shinran and other masters were teaching. When Shinran was saying that we are ignorant beings and we have an evil self, he was really talking about only one part of our ego. Our psychologists tell us that the ego is made up of several parts, and we call it subpersonalities. Within us, we have a child, even a warrior, a wise person, a hero, and other parts. Now, it's this wild child that gets us into trouble. And I was so happy when I learned this in psychology, that I wasn't all completely bad, but it was a part of me. But it was also good to know that there is a wise, mature part of me. And my child may be immature and only knows how to defend itself by being loud and angry and blaming others. But then we can also access our hero, our elder, our Yoda. Now, there are some religions that suggest that we love our enemies. That's a little too much for me to do. I don't think I could really do that. But what about compassion, the word we use often in Buddhism? I use the first three letters, C-O-M, come. That's the word, a prefix that's used in many words that has the meaning of being together with others, other people. Committee, conversation, communication, company, all these things start with C-O-M. And the last part is passion. And we could translate passion as feeling. So to me, the word compassion could mean feeling the feelings of others. Now, that means we can be empathetic. Now, this is our child that really wants to be heard, but perhaps was not heard. And we know that to raise a responsible child, we might acknowledge their feelings. When they feel heard, they might be able to change their behavior. And here we have a symbol of Amida Buddha, accepting us just as we are. So the children who feel that they haven't been heard in childhood might be the ones who hang on to their teenage mentality. And when they get into trouble, they just feel their anger rising. And they just feel that there's nothing to do but blame others. And that's the key sign. If someone is blaming others, it may mean that they're still in their child or teenage mentality. And they have no control of their life, because when others are responsible for your life, you have no control. But once we take control or take responsibility for ourselves, we have some control. I was in my 30s when I took some personal growth courses, and I was doing a lot of things like that, the Vision Quests, and there were many teachers in the Bay Area at that time. And I took many courses. In one of those courses, it was similar to Nikon therapy, where we had to be introspective and look inside. Because prior to that time, I kind of had blamed a lot on my mother. Not that she was bad to me, she was too good. She took care of lots of things. She mothered me. And I felt that I didn't know how to make any decisions. And so I blamed her for my incompetence. And what I was doing was that I was not taking responsibility for my own life. But after this exercise I did at this course and several other things that I've done, I began to realize what Greg Preach talks about in his Nikon therapy. It's not what others have not done for me, but what have others done for me? And I realized that I had to be responsible for the condition of my own life. Now, our childhood defenses come out when we're stressed. And that child part of us comes out and we won't let go. But if we go into this meditation posture, we can look inside and feel calm. And the stresses we have now as adults are the same ones that we had as children. And so this is how we act out. Now, I can feel the fear and stress of my childhood, but I can have compassion for myself. It's like I could bring out the wise elder, the adult in me, to take care of my own child. And this is what Amida Buddha represents for us. In Japanese, we often refer to Amida Buddha as Oya-sama, honorable parent. And Amida accepts me just as I am. And so the parent part of my ego is accepting this child part. And as I take refuge and feel safe, I can let go of that childhood behavior. And this is when I can shift my perspective and I can shift it to my adult or my elder. And so Amida's primal vow can be outside, and I can consider that as Amida, or I can take that as Amida's influence within me, and it's working within me. So I can respond to any situation and be response-able or responsible. And I find out that as an adult, I'm not alone, because as an adult, I'm not independent. I realize that I'm part of a group, a family, a community. I take my place among others. I'm not a child by myself. As an adult, I realize that I am together with many others. And the self-effort that I was trying so hard to accomplish things, I realized that it was because the effort of others, so many other people and things, teachers and parents and friends have helped me all this time. So it has been this effort of others, or Amida Buddha. So there can be a shift in perspective. By accepting responsibility of a situation, I realize that I am part of the whole. And so I can be a solution to all the things that are happening. And this is a growth choice. We can let go of immature beliefs, and we've done it. I think many of us don't believe in the tooth fairy, unicorns, or space cadets. And so we have let go of our childhood beliefs, and we realize that we are adults and we have this Yoda, this wise adult within us. And I think we can all look back at some foolish things we believed as children, but now we've let that go and we can see many actions we've taken as adults. When I realize that my child is only a part of me, I feel liberated. I realize that this wise part can also emerge. And wisdom and compassion is part of me. And I've received that from my family, from teachers, friends, Amida Buddha. And we are transcending that child ego and becoming more Buddha-like. We're not quite yet like Buddhas, but we're growing beyond our child. So there are several segments in our society, and they're interested in different parts of the Super Bowl. And there are many segments of our political life. and there are segments of our own psyche within. And it's not something that's all or none, one way or another. It's the game of life that's important. It's a balance. Because like the Super Bowl, the winner is important, but it's really about the game. How many of us can remember who won the Super Bowl last year and what teams were playing? So as we move forward, we don't go forward as an individual separate from others. We move forward interdependently as part of a team, a sangha, and we move toward truth. Our ego is like our greater community. We expand it, not as an individual, but with others. And so there are many different parts of it, and we have all those again in the symbol Gasho to relieve our stress and anxiety. So anytime there is this feeling of unsettledness, of stress, we have this posture that we can practice. And we use the words Namo Amida Butsu. And that reminds us of the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha that we receive and hold within. And that we don't have to blame others, that we accept all the benefits given to us by others. And we find that with this, we can become responsible and respond with ableness. So with that, please join me in Gasho in expressing our deepest appreciation and gratitude for all that has made us to this point. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.